Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. Today is April 13th. Hard to believe we're already in mid-April. This is the Brand Power Hour, which is my free community for brand building to help you with tips and strategies and all the things so that you can grow your business. If we haven't met before, my name is Mallika. I'm the brand CEO. I know most of you, but I really help female entrepreneurs just like yourselves stand out in your crowded markets. You know, most of us are in saturated industries, photography, strategy, coaching. And so how do we position ourselves to be the go-to? And that's what I help my clients do. Help them strengthen their message so that they can get paid and attract the right clients as the expert. And so today I'm very excited because I host these events so that I can bring other experts in to talk about things that, you know, I might not be an expert in, and just to kind of complement the brand building that we do. And so Justine and I are both Business League, as well as I think Boston Business Women. I feel like I see.
Yep.
And we met through those organizations. I'm going to read a little bit of her bio, but I always like to tell you how I meet people through my networking. So we met there. I think we must have connected in a chat in the meeting. And you know, we have a lot of great overlap in our businesses. We serve the same ideal clients. And so I've always admired your approach and how you really break things down very simply for people. Your dedication to marketing and strategy. You're so helpful and so resourceful. And so I'm so happy to have you here with my community. So Justine is a creative business strategist for entrepreneurs and small business owners. She puts people first and profits second. Her days are often spent helping people invest their time and money wisely by simplifying everything business related, especially marketing and sales, so they feel clear and confident in their work each day. And I think what's key here for all of us is the simplification, because things can always get messy and complicated and we feel like we have to do all the things, when really if we streamline, we probably get more done. Let's see, her mission is to help more brilliant, purpose-driven people in the world thrive. Since 2008, Justine has helped more than 450 entrepreneurs worldwide reach up to 23,000% revenue, non-revenue growth. Spoken
2,300.
Oh, it says you might need to change that. What I have,
Okay.
which is like huge.
But 2,300 is big. I took a client from $3,000 to $70,000 months in 3 months.
Holy crap, that's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna change that here in my
and it's over 500 clients now if you're making edits.
So she keeps growing, guys. She's spoken
Yes.
stages with 10,000 people in the audience. She's raised over 1 million for educational nonprofits. She's known for increasing profits without sacrificing the joy of the work or its impact. Her zones of genius are creating irresistible offers, attracting aligned customers, designing easy to use processes, and helping people grow with minimal busy work. So I'm so excited to have you here. Today, we're talking about mastering your sales pitch and really being able to answer confidently, what do you do? So thank you so much for being here. You have the floor.
Yes, thank you so much. What a lovely introduction. Usually I tack on a little story or something, but I feel like the backstory of us meeting and connecting is perfect. So I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you. I am going to do a little bit of a presentation today, and we're going to kind of bring some elements of interactivity at the end. So, you know, let's kick it off with just the presentation and kind of walking through some things. The first of which is, and let me just know if you can see my screen. Can everyone see it?
One thing, okay. Justine, do you want people in the chat to say what they do, since you might have some new people here that you don't know?
Yeah, feel free to drop your name and what you do in the chat. Feel free to drop your website or your social handles if you want to connect with each other and connect with me. I would love to save the chat and connect with all of you on Instagram afterward. And as we go through, if you do have questions as we move through the content, or you want to kind of get some validation as you're thinking about ideas for your own pitch or your own business, or any thoughts or reflections, feel free to just drop those in the chat, and then I'll cover those at the end. We'll have a little bit of time for Q&A at the end. So let's talk about mastering your sales pitch in under 30 minutes, because I want to make this simple and easy to do, and I want to make it a working hour. So I want you to walk away with something written, something done that you can go use and take. And when I do this exercise or similar ones with my clients, what they will do is go use exactly what they create and make sales. So you can make a sale today just by what you come up with in this session. So that's my goal for you, is that you walk away with something productive and you're not just sitting here learning concepts and then doing nothing with them. So a little bit of background about me.
Who said that?
Hold on,
Oh
I'm
no.
gonna mute somebody. Okay. I have 2 amazing kids. I'm married to my best friend. We've been married for 11 years. I have to count all the years now. I also have 2 autoimmune illnesses. And I think this is important to mention because so many people think, oh, it's easy. You know, your husband's retired and you work part-time. Like the way that I've set up my business, people look at that from the outside and go, that's easy. But every month I get infusions and I have days where my body just shuts down. And there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes. And so I want you to know that part of the reason that I've simplified my business in such this way is because I've had to make it work. And the other part is that I want to show you that you can have issues in your life that are going on behind the scenes, and you can still create exceptional offers and pitches and make your business a thriving business. Nothing needs to hold you back. I have 15 years of experience doing this. I've owned my company for 8 years. And I have done some incredible things in my life, but mostly what I love is helping people use their creativity as I'm using my creativity. So you take your zone of genius, your brilliance, you pair it with the simplicity that we talk about today. That's a recipe for success and magic, right? We want to take all those things that feel hard and weird and uncomfortable that you're not maybe used to doing, which is often the sales and the marketing side of the business, which makes up about 90% of our day-to-day actions once we actually have an established business, and make that side of the business doable and fun and enjoyable. That's what makes a sustainable business, in my opinion. So quick story and background as to how I really got into selling to begin with. In college, I had 4 jobs with a double major, and I studied in France, where I did not speak the language fluently. So I love a challenge. And I also had $100,000 in student debt. So my immediate instinct was, I don't care what the job is. I'm paying my way through school. I have to take the highest paying job on campus. So I asked around and figured out what it was, and it was fundraising for the school. I had never done fundraising. I was never in a sales job. So I took this job and it was horrible. We sat in a basement room every day, hooked up to automated software that just called people on repeat. So I don't know if you've ever had an experience like that where you've been pushed into something and then just had it kind of going and you have almost no way out of it, either like a sales job or something like that. But let me know if you resonate with that. And so we did thousands of calls a day. And I got a lot of voicemails and I got a lot of no's. What I didn't hear was thank yous, gratitude, yes, things like that, or even people relating to me and sharing stories. So one day, the supervisor was out of the room and I was like, okay, I'm going to take this into my own hands. I'm just going to go off script here and I am going to just talk to people. The first call I got, I talked to that person. I remember it was this older woman who had the same major as me. We connected. We had this great conversation. It was about 25 minutes long and she gave $50. And I was like, oh my gosh, this was amazing. I have to repeat this. So now every time I get someone on the phone, I'm going to find a point of connection. I'm going to find a way to relate to them. I'm going to hear their story. I'm going to tell them mine. I'm going to make this experience feel good to me and them. And I'm going to get more yeses. And quickly, I started getting thousands in donations every time I would work. And other people were asking me, what's your secret? You have so much fun here. Like, how are you having fun and I'm not having fun? How are you raising money and I'm not raising money? And I got promoted to supervisor and started sharing revised scripts and role play with the people in that community. So all the employees there, I would take the new people out into the hallway. I would teach them my way of selling, and then I would role play back and forth with them. And that's one thing that I would love to do with you today, if we have time, is to role play a sales scenario so you can kind of see what that looks like, because it's really powerful when you do it. So from there, I realized that there were a few things I was doing differently. First, I was listening to their tone of voice. Did they sound busy when they picked up the phone? Did they sound irritated? How did I know there were some cues that I could listen to and go, this might not be the best time? Or listen to interest, intrigue. It's almost like you can hear people's body language in their tone of voice. You can hear when they're leaning in. You can hear when they're smiling. So I was listening for that. I was also listening to specific words they used. So really taking their vocabulary so I could speak back to them in a way that they could understand and relate to, and about concerns they had. So when someone said, I would love to give, but I really can't afford a big gift. This happened to me all the time. And I would say, gifts of any size are appreciated. What do you think would feel comfortable for you? And they would say, I don't know, like $100. And that was a huge gift. Sometimes they would say $10. And I was like, that is incredible. We would appreciate it so much. Thank you. And everyone was coming in, telling me what they were able to do. Sometimes it was surprising, sometimes it wasn't, but every time I was really getting their world. The second thing that I did was relate to them. So listening for common traits, similar interests, shared backgrounds. What do we have in common that's going to connect us more? There's the phrasing of 6 degrees of separation. It's now more like 2 or 3. There's always someone that you both know. There's always something that you both have in common. Like when I first met Mallika, I was like, oh, you serve the same audience I do. Let's connect. And then you have a passion for branding and I have a passion for branding in a different way. How do those overlap? And it's very easy to find connections when you're actively looking for them. So that was the second thing. The third thing was I was helpful. So I helped them make decisions. I helped them to see positive changes, to notice that, this university you went to 25 years ago has done some incredible things for me as a current student. Here's what that looks like, and here's what you'll be contributing to. And always helping them walk away feeling good. So and also me walking away feeling good, because I'm never in a sales conversation trying to convince someone to like me. I'm in a sales conversation to try to help someone find the best solution for them, whether it's me or someone else. And obviously, the better the offer you have and the more confidence you have in selling, then you'll find that most of the time, the best solution is you. And you will feel that, and it will deeply resonate with you and then extend over to the person that you're having the conversation with. So today, I want to help you build a generic general sales pitch that you can use as is. You can say the whole thing, or you can kind of break it up and use it in different ways. So you can create it for specific value propositions or as you're talking to someone. And this will be covered in sort of the sales role play part of it as well. So sales pages, emails, video scripts, discovery calls, ad copy, Instagram highlights, doesn't matter what it is, you'll be able to use either all or parts of this across your marketing, across platforms. So when I play board games, I do not like reading the rules. And that's not because I'm rebellious. That's because that's not how I learn. I don't like to hear theology and concepts. I like to see practices in action and then sort of reverse engineer what I've just experienced. And I figure out how to play board games faster than anyone on the planet. And so I find that modeling a sales pitch is the most helpful way to teach this. So I'm going to use one of my sales pitches as an example. And I want you to pay attention to specific things that I say, specific phrasing and wording. And then at the end, I'm going to show you how to reverse engineer the same exact thing and write your pitch. Sound good? Everybody on board? Okay. So you may be wondering, how can I find more clients? But you and I both know that you're struggling with something else. You know where they are already. You just don't know how to reach them effectively. Or You get them to say yes, or you don't get them to say yes yet, right? So you're talking to people and you spend all day with those people right in front of you or beside you, and you either pitch to them and you get a no, or you get ghosted after you talk to them, or they do nothing. They don't reach out to you. They don't book a call. They don't take action on your social media posts or your highlights or your promos or your ads or whatever else you're doing to market and sell. But imagine what it would be like to feel confident and to know exactly what to say. Even if someone objected to you, when you make an offer and hear those yeses. How much easier would selling be, and how much more money would you make if you felt confident walking into every sales conversation? You wouldn't mind selling. In fact, you'd probably enjoy it. That's what the Breakthrough Lab gives you. Real results and help creating amazing offers and selling them for about $5 a day. As a member, you get 3 support calls a week, a skills lab to help you master business and life skills, and a community that rallies behind you. You also get monthly live trainings on topics that move the needle for you and tools that do most of the heavy lifting for you. Join today and get the personalized guidance you've been looking for with a money-back guarantee. And then there's a little note, don't forget your calls to action. That's a big one because most people will get through that whole amazing pitch and then they don't ask. And so part of why we call it an offer is because someone either has to accept or reject the offer. Being ghosted is not an acceptance or rejection of an offer. There's opportunity in that. There's follow-up in that. There's nuance to that. So never forget the call to action and never forget the follow-up until you get a firm yes or no. So now it's your turn. You've heard the general kind of pitch. Now let's talk about the frame that I used. So I started off with a question or a bold statement, you might be. So I put, you may be wondering, mine was kind of a blend of both. You may be wondering, how do I find clients? Right? So what is your question or bold statement? What do people ask you all the time? Think about your FAQs. Did people ask you, you may be wondering, you can borrow the exact same framing or you can write it differently, but just as an example, you may be wondering, how do I get my website to convert if you're a web designer? You may be wondering, how do I lose those last 5 pounds if you're a nutritionist, right? So thinking about that framing. Then the second is you're shifting into your unique perspective. So my unique perspective is that nobody actually wants to find clients. Clients are all over the place. What you want to find is a way to connect with clients and sell to them. That's my unique perspective. So your unique perspective, let's go back to the nutritionist. You might say, want to lose those last 5 pounds, or you may be wondering how to lose those last 5 pounds. The best way is to focus on balanced nutrition and macro tracking. That's one example, right? You wonder how to get your website to convert. You need to structure your page as an upside down page, and here's how to do that, right? So talking about your process. Next is relating to them. So when I say you're surrounded by your clients every day, you're talking to them, you're initiating conversations, you're probably doing a lot of things already. So I'm relating to exactly where they are right now. So going back, we'll keep building on that example. So as a nutritionist, as an alternative perspective to my pitch, you are probably exhausted from yo-yo dieting and trying all the things. You have probably been at a plateau stage before. Tell me if this feels familiar, right? So really trying to get, where are they right now? What's going to move them to want to keep reading, keep learning, go, yeah, that's me. Now what? Then you're going to take them to the visioning statement. Imagine how it would feel if you just had an incredible offer that you could put out there confidently and know exactly how to overcome any objection that came your way, right? Imagine how it would feel from the nutritionist perspective to wake up every day knowing exactly what you were eating and that it was going to get you past that plateau guaranteed. Imagine how it would feel if you didn't obsess over your food anymore. You just knew what worked for your body, right? Those are examples. Then you move to give them the aha. That thing that once they have the visioning statement, you tell them, you wouldn't mind selling it all, would you? Right? That's their aha. The thing you're stuck on, you wouldn't be stuck on if you did these things, right? Tie it all together. Create the awareness. And then your offer with a clear call to action. So join now risk-free at whatever website, right? Sign up for my nutrition protocol boot camp, whatever, right? Using a lot of buzzwords with that one. But, the point is you've got something that is clear and good and is a steal and exciting for you to sell. And one of the examples I like to use for this is thinking about when you buy a new cell phone, how quick and easy is it for you going up to your friends and family going, I just got this new phone. Have you seen this camera on this phone? It is amazing. Have you looked at the filters and all the features that it comes with? Like, oh my gosh, it's so light. Feel it. It's amazing. Look at this case. It's so durable. I've dropped it 5 times. It hasn't even cracked, right? You're excited. You feel like it's a steal. You're happy to tell people about it. That's how you need to feel about your offer. So we're talking about sales today, but this is a good point to check in with yourself about your offer, because that's step number 1 in my book. Not your audience, not your messaging, not your website. Your offer needs to be solid. So if you have to make some adjustments to how you're selling it or what's included or the feature set or the benefit set or how it's priced or who you're selling it to, think about those things as you go through this, because this isn't just about learning the frame of selling. It's also applying it to an irresistible offer. Does that feel clear to everybody? Good.
Question on the giving them an aha. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
So giving them the aha is telling them, almost like connecting all the dots of the pitch and telling them something that they want to realize that now makes sense because you've told them the real problem, right? So like, you think you're looking to find clients. You're not actually looking to find clients. You're looking for ways to connect with them and to sell to them effectively. And if you knew how to sell your offer and how to feel confident when you're selling your offer, you wouldn't mind selling it all. So that's kind of like their ideal outcome. And now that you've created awareness and articulated their problem to them really clearly, they're connecting the dots. And that's their light bulb moment. Like, I wouldn't mind selling if I felt confident and had a great offer and knew how to overcome any objection ever. Right? So like, what's the thing that they're really after that you can spark their brain to go, oh my gosh, it's possible. That's another way to look at it, is like letting them really sink into the possibility of success. Because the goal of selling is to really lower their discomfort and increase their certainty of getting their desired outcome.
Another question I have for you, Justine, does this
Yep.
framework change between a service and a product?
No. So the way that I teach marketing and sales is I don't niche to product or service-based businesses, and it's very easy to cross-pollinate between the two. So if you're talking about, soap, for instance, I have a client who sells goat milk soap. You may be wondering how to have clearer skin, right? Or you may be looking for the perfect skincare routine. So you might think that the perfect skin comes from generational, genetics, basically. But that's not all there is to it. There's also the products that you use and making sure that they don't contain parabens or, whatever else is in soaps, right? And so now you're kind of relating to their circumstance the same way you would with a service, because again, people don't buy, and this is actually going to be on a future slide in a minute, but people are not buying your offer. They don't care if you have a soap or a salve or a cream or a butter or a scrub. They don't care what that looks like in particular. They're only looking for those things in particular because they've been programmed to believe that that is the solution. But the minute you come up with something different, like nobody was really looking for electric cars, but someone decided that the way to save our planet was to transition out of fuel-based engines and move to electric. Now everything is kind of shifting, right? And so we come up with these different, bio oil. After I had kids, I used bio oil on my stomach to kind of remove the inflammation and the stretch marks and all of that. I didn't look for bio oil. I looked for a solution to help with stretch marks and tightening of skin and ways to feel really good. So it's the same thing across both industries. Does everyone have a pitch written down that they feel pretty good about following this frame? Feeling good? Okay. So now it's time for role play, and we probably have time for one volunteer to come off mic and go back and forth with me on role play. But first, I want to talk about this idea of selling outcomes, not offers. So no one wants to buy your specific offer. They want the promise of better in some way, shape, or form. A happier marriage, a healthier body, more confident, the perfect home, a well-paying job, things that make their life better in some way. So every pitch you make, when I'm saying this is a generic pitch, I truly mean it. I don't pitch my products or my services the same way, hardly ever, because I'm connecting to the person that I'm selling to and speaking to what their specific version of better is. So a couple of things to keep in mind as you pitch. First is tell stories. Okay, so when someone says, I've been struggling to lose the weight, I've been 100 pounds overweight for 10 years, like, I don't really know if I can ever do it. That's when you step in and say, you sound just like my client, Jenny. She came to me the same way, and here's what happened, and here's what we did, and here's what we're going to do with you. And really connecting to them through storytelling. That's a beautiful way. If you've ever heard of Donald Miller's story brand, that's one example of people really remember and resonate with stories. The second is to talk about your processes. So when I sell my one-on-one coaching offer, I talk about the specific steps of that process. So people feel very clear. And even when I go through the sales process, and I'll give you kind of a back end look at my sales process, I never focus on more than one step at a time. So I have a discovery call with someone and I say, okay, are you a yes or a no? Right? That person says, I'm a yes. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is sign your contract and pay your invoice, right? Those come to you simultaneously from separate websites. So they're going to come to you from software and you're going to sign and execute both of those. Once you do that, I will send you your questionnaire. Then after you complete the questionnaire, I will send you your meeting details, right? So every step in order. I do this all the time. I have lots of clients. It gives people confidence to know you're not just throwing something together. When you buy my skincare, my bio oil, here's how you use it. Every night before bed, you want to do this, this, and this. You want to use this specific towel. You want to, have this amount of rubs on your belly with it. You want to have this many squirts out of the bottle, like whatever that looks like. Tell them the process, show them how they're going to get the results. That builds confidence. The next one is to make promises. So if you noticed in my pitch, I have a money back guarantee. You don't have to have a guarantee, but you should feel confident making the promise that they're going to get the outcome. You're selling outcomes. So if you can't guarantee that someone will have clearer skin, that's not your value proposition to use. If you can't guarantee that someone is going to have a glowiness when they use your makeup, that is not your value proposition. You want to focus on things that you know the majority of people are going to achieve without a doubt, so they can feel really confident. And if you can put a guarantee to your offer, do it, because it works great. And you have offers that have guarantees. I've never once given a refund with my guarantee. And that's because when you offer the guarantee, you should never have to give it, right? You're offering it because you know your offer is so good, you don't have to. And the last one is to ask questions. So conversations rooted in curiosity, you want to directly assess their needs. So you're not going in saying, like, I'll use Mallika as an example. She's not going in saying, you're buying this offer and this is it. And like, this is how I pitch it. And you either want it or you don't want it. Nobody would want it except for probably one person, her, right? The way that we pitch is, what are you looking for? And someone says, well, no, I really want more authority. I want people to see me as the expert I feel like on the inside, on the outside. And that's when she tells them all the aspects of her offer that really tie into building an industry leading brand, right? I really want to finally have a color palette that expresses how I feel and creates an emotional reaction or response within my ideal customers. Perfect. The first step of the branding process is to pick your color palette and pick the fonts that evoke a certain energy about your brand, right? And I'm projecting, I don't know that that's her process, but I'm just saying as examples, asking questions allows you to curate the most perfect pitch for that person. Okay, so who wants to be the guinea pig?
A quick question, Justine, before we pick someone here, if you don't mind. So with the promise statement, what are your thoughts on attaching a metric to that? Something that's very tangible and precise. So for example, you know, I can promise that you'll double your email list, or, you know, or you're going to increase your revenue by 25%.
Yeah.
I know that it strengthens a promise, but like, how do people even get to those numbers to like create those numbers in the promise?
So feedback loops are really critical in your fulfillment side of the process. So putting customer surveys out there, you know, a week, 3 months, 6 months after they work with you and get that brand developed. What was your email list when you started working with me? If that's a metric you want to measure, you know, when you're coming in, what size is your email list on your intake form? And then a week after you complete their branding set, what is your email list now? What is it 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, whatever, right? And so keeping those touch points and measuring those things is really important. Once you have an awareness around what you want to track, you just have to figure out what the best way for you is to track that. And so you might, and this is something I did early on in my business because I was not as confident or organized with my systems of feedback loops. So I would just go on people's social media pages, like public information, and I would look at their social media page when they signed on with me and be like, they have 800 followers right now. And then in 6 months, I would go, they have 1,800 followers right now. What's that percentage increase? I've gotten people up to this amount, right? So when I say I've helped people grow by 2,300%, and I give you that specific example, I knew what that client was making per month when we met. I said, how much are you making now? He said, $3,000. I said, okay, I can double it. And I said, if I don't double it, I will work with you until I do. And 3 months later, he was making $70,000 a month and went, oh my gosh, you way more than doubled it. Like, how do we keep working together? And we worked together for several years and he referred me to lots of people. So when we think about that, it's not just saying I can help you double your email list. Sometimes it's also framing it in a way that feels good to you and doable for everybody. So I've had clients grow as much as 2x of their email list, right? Or like best case scenarios with some of your ideal clients, and then building your processes to orient towards those specific wins and promises that you're making. So when people come to work with you, especially, so for nutritionists, for example, going back to that, of 100% of my clients lose the weight and keep it off for at least 6 months. Right? You're not saying I'm guaranteeing you will lose the weight and keep it off for 6 months. I'm saying 100% or 85% or whatever that metric is of people do that. And so when they come to you, they go, yeah, I saw on your website that 85% of people lose weight and keep it off. Like, how do I become part of that 85%? And you say, well, the first thing we're going to do is boom, 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 going into the processes, right? And telling the stories to back up those metrics. So these all kind of tie together too.
Yeah, no, that's super helpful because I do think if you can quantify the promise, it helps the sales pitch. But
100%.
it can get a little tricky too. But I'm finding, like, for me, like, I've always promised like brand clarity. Like, if you're going to work with me, you're going to get clarity, but that feels a little fluffy sometimes.
It's actually really not fluffy. If you can quantify those types of metrics too by asking people, how clear do you feel in your brand positioning on day one, and on day whatever at the end of it, how clear do you feel? And saying that people went from a 2 to a 6, that's a 300x increase, right? Or 300% increase. So every single metric, feeling more confident, loving your body, happier in your marriage, all of these things that people go, well, that's not measurable. It actually is. Everything is measurable. So you just need to find your way of tracking that metric.
That's super helpful. Thank you so much for
You're
that.
welcome.
So who
Lisa, who wants to volunteer?
I'll always be game for
Hey,
Yeah.
Melanie.
beat up.
So first, tell me what you do and what you desire for your clients.
I am a writing coach, and I specifically focus on my clients' About Me page. That's usually our jumping off point, and from there I do writing coaching so that they have the tools they need to write better to sell their product or service. My goal for them, I interview them, and then I write their page for them, present it, and then we have a coaching session. So that they're able to have a page that showcases their personality and sells, so that if somebody
Interesting.
comes to their website, all the information is there, and it's written in a language that shows that they understand them, they can solve problems, and that they get them.
Okay. Who's your ideal client?
My
Give
ideal
me
client
kind of an
is
avatar.
a
Yeah.
woman entrepreneur who either who understands that she needs to use the right messaging, and probably understands that she needs to focus on what she does the best, and that's not her writing and her marketing. She wants to be off making those jams and jellies and body bombs, and wants someone else, is willing to pay someone else to do it for her.
Okay. So we're going to pretend to be on the phone. Do you do discovery calls or consult calls, those types of things to qualify people into your offer? Or do you sell it automated?
No, I do one-on-ones, but usually they've made the decision to work with me when we have that call.
Okay. So let's have just a pretend kind of semi-cold sales call.
Mhm.
And I'm going to be the person that's buying, and you're going to sell to me just as you normally would. I'm going to take some of those little details you gave me and kind of craft my own version of that persona. And then when we're done, I'm going to sell your services back to you, and you're going to be the customer. So you can challenge me a little bit on that. Okay.
Okay.
Do you
Okay.
want to stop your share, Justine, so we can kind of see?
Oh,
it?
yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. Go ahead, Melanie, whenever you're ready.
Oh, I go first.
You're calling me. I'm
just-
doing laundry at the moment.
Hi, Justine. How are you today?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Great. I see you're interested in creating a new About Me page.
Yes, I am.
Do you have a website right now?
I do. It is pretty basic. I made it myself, and I don't know what you thought when you looked at it, but I definitely know that I need some help with the messaging, because I feel like I'm not getting my points across, but I don't really know what to do to get my points across, if that makes sense.
Right. Okay. I see. I did just jump over to your website. I'm looking at it now. This is great. I love your pictures. You have a nice energy, but I'm looking at your About Me page. And the problem with it is that it's about you. That sounds a little silly, I know, but you put your information up here, and you're showing me where you went to school, and these different jobs that you had, and how you're really good at what you do and have a lot of experience, and that's all great. However, it would be a lot stronger if you took all that information and kind of packaged it into a story that showed your reader how you have the skills and expertise that can help them and what their life might look like after they worked with you. So it sounds a little backwards, but when you are putting information about yourself on there, you want to frame it into how it can help your customer. Every single statement that you've made on your About Me page has to show how it benefits your client. So for example, can you tell me a little bit about how you got started and what you're doing? Like, was there an aha moment, maybe when you were a kid, or maybe when you were in college? You mentioned all those college jobs that you worked at. What was the defining moment that got you to where you are today?
Yeah, so when I was in college, I was actually making jam and selling it to my peers. And it was kind of just something fun that I would do because I noticed that there were a lot of students on campus that had ideas for different jobs, and I just didn't fit in with any of those things. And I remembered a story. Actually, it's funny that you say this. I had a great grandmother who made jams. And I think growing up with all these homemade jams at home was what really kind of sparked me creating this business.
There's your story. And that's how you start your About Me page. You say, you know, great grandma Agnes always made sure I wiped the jelly off my mouth before I went out to the playground.
Yeah, I love
And
it.
you're capturing, and that's intriguing. So you're bringing your reader in, and then you're going to back into your story and talk about how, you know, jam brought a sense of family, and, you know, everybody loves to have that toasted bagel with jam. And then you're going to lead it into the feelings that the jam is bringing up, and where you're going from there. And through it, you're going to talk, maybe you'll talk a little bit about, you know, chemistry or relationships, or anything that you could kind of send the jam into. And it's your starting off point. And through it, you are you can bring in your college experience. You can tell the story of everything that you've accomplished. But it's not just stating I did this and I did that. You're creating a scenario that's much more interesting to your reader.
Okay, so I love all of that, but I don't want to write all day long and try to figure out all of these things. Like, how do I work with you to make that happen?
So we're going to schedule a call, and I'm going to ask you a lot more questions like I'm asking you. It's going to take about 45 minutes. And at the end of our call, I will go off and do my magic, and I will share a Google Doc with you that will have a drafted version of your About Me page. And, you know, we'll have one more call, and we'll kind of tweak it a little. It'll be mostly ready. And with my whole bio bundle package, I'll also create for you a secondary short bio that you can use for your homepage. You can use it as your elevator pitch when you're introducing yourself in meetings, or for your speaker bio, as well as your Instagram or Facebook, a couple of your different social profiles. And the importance of all this is you won't have to think about it anymore. You'll know that you're using the words that are so strong and that really tell who you are and why you're doing what you're doing in the context of how it helps your client.
Okay, so what does that cost?
It costs the full bio bundle package is $17.97. And if you wanted just the About Me page, it's $9.97.
Okay, so we're going to stop there
Mhm.
and switch. But first, I have a couple of notes. Okay. First, I loved that you complimented her website. Like, I'm looking here, it looks like you have great energy. You said a few things to like make me feel good about myself, which was a lovely way to start the conversation. What I did notice is looking at the website on the call, like I'm looking at your website now, and here's what it's saying. I prefer to have an intake form that they put their website on, and then you look at it beforehand and you say, I had to look at your website for a couple minutes before this call, and here are some notes that I wrote down, so that it doesn't seem like you're distracted or trying to put something together on the spot with them. You're really focused on that conversation and what they're trying to get out of it, because you want to maximize the time. I think too, there were a lot of opportunities to enroll me in the conversation that you just kind of kept talking. So there were examples of stories, like instead of saying, tell me more about your grandma, tell me more about that process, you're just giving me examples of like Grandpa Agnes, and here's the chemicals, and like talking about things made up instead of just asking me, like, what's your grandma's name? Tell me. And then you're kind of doing a Mad Libs, right? Of like, you've got those pieces, but now you're really putting her in the story. So she's able to clearly visualize that sounds like me. Also, with that, I feel like you were giving too many examples and almost overselling the offer of like, here, tell me the things, and here's a full story, and I'm going into this long-winded, kind of thing. And I noticed this happens with a lot of coaches, is they end up doing the work and coaching on the call. But the purpose of a sales call is never to do the work, because first of all, it's never going to be as good without the full breadth of information that you need to really work with them. So you might end up unselling yourself. And second, it creates almost like a belief within them. The way you just said that sounded good, I'll just use that. And then they just move on if they're kind of on the fence. So you want to kind of give them a snapshot of what it looks like, but not go into so much detail that now they're like, oh, okay, well, thanks for that. Bye. And then like moving on.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think Malika's always said that about what I do is I give away the store on that first call. And yeah.
Okay. So
And
now,
that's interesting because you want to give enough to show how good you are. But you don't, there's a balance. Like you want to give a little something. Like I could totally see that you're a page starting with, I mean, that's a great story, the grandma and what the kitchen looked like and smelled like. I mean, that's great.
yeah. And also, marketing is pre-selling. So your website, when you say most of them are already sold, your website's doing the heavy lifting for you. You're a writer. You want them to go to your website and feel like, I can feel Melanie's story, and I want my story to feel like Melanie's story. So they're getting on the call with you. You don't need to prove anything on that call. You need to be clear about the next steps in working with you. And making good assumptions is a big part of selling. Of this person saw my website, took the time to book a call. Clearly they're interested. I just need to kind of bridge the gap with anything and like fill in those dots so that they can make a confident buying decision. So let's talk through it. I will be you, and you will be random jam maker Sally. Okay. Actually, you can keep your name because I don't want to confuse it. So I'll be Justine, but I'll sell what you sell. Okay.
Okay.
Hi, Melanie. How are you today?
Great.
Good. So is now still a good time to talk, by the way?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So tell me a little bit. I saw your website, I saw your questionnaire filled out before this call, but I want to hear in your words kind of where you're at with everything in terms of your copywriting and your website and how you're feeling about it.
Oh my gosh. There's so much to write. I just feel like I don't have any time to work on my product because all I have to do is write, and I have to get down on paper everything that I'm trying to say and trying to sell, and there's just no time to work on my business.
Yeah, I hear that. Do you not like writing, or are you just overwhelmed about the amount of time that it's taking you?
I do like writing. I wrote for the college newspaper, and but I just don't know if I'm using the right words.
Okay. What do you feel are the right words?
Words that that show how great my product is without sounding too salesy.
Yeah. How great is your product? Tell me a little bit about how you feel about
It's
it.
the best. I use all organic honey from bees that were raised on a farm in Vermont with the best flowers. And I make everything by hand in my craft kitchen, which has no artificial surfaces. It's all hand cured in Iowa. And my products can solve insomnia, broken bones, bad marriages. It can fix your sore throat, and it can help your kids get good grades in school.
That is, wow. I need to buy some of that.
I know, right?
You are definitely a natural born writer. So let's talk a little bit about my process and the way that I work with people. So before I get into the process, actually, do you ever do speaking engagements, or do you have an Instagram page? Like, what else are you doing besides your website right now?
Yes, I give a lot of talks. I speak a lot I'm a leader in Believe, Inspire, Grow, and I'm always sharing there. I'm involved in a women's networking group in New Jersey where I live, and I teach a little camp class there.
Yeah.
And I've spoken to lots of women's groups about the importance. Wait, I'm you. Sorry, I'm backwards.
You're the jam maker with the honeybees.
Sorry. I messed that up completely. Yes, I give talks at a few local colleges in my community about the process and the importance of holistic, healthy eating, and then specifically break it down into the importance of even something as simple as jam and butters, making sure that they're using natural ingredients.
I love that. Okay, so first of all, you're really easy to work with because you have so many natural differentiators to your products. So this is going to be selfishly a very fun project for me to work on. But let's talk about the process for a second. So the first thing I'm going to do is schedule a 45-minute call with you. And first, I'm going to, on that call, kind of grab some information from you, pull all of those beautiful details together. I'm going to ask you for any pre-done materials for those talks that you're doing, or your existing website pages, or any hidden landing pages that you've created, any sort of marketing materials that you have, pulling your voice together in one place. And then I'm going to actually write a page for you. So earlier you said there's so much to write and not enough time. And even though I know you love writing, I find that it's helpful to have someone who can really capture the essence of your brand do that quickly. So all we need to do is cover a few details. It's very simple for you to kind of pull those resources together. And then I will create the page, and then we'll have a separate call. We'll review all of the things that I wrote about your brand and just kind of go over it together piece by piece, so you can really feel that you're represented in that. And if there's any questions you have about it. And I can also give you some pointers on how else to use that content. So I actually have a process and an offer that's called the Bio Bundle. Have you seen this on my website?
I did.
Okay. So I think it's perfect for you. Typically, I do about pages first and then the bio bundle. But since you speak, I think it makes perfect sense for us to just move ahead with the bio bundle. So it's $17.97. You get that 45-minute call, you get that pre-done about page. Then I'll even write some kind of origin story content for your social media bios, for your speaking bio. So when you go and present yourself in all of those different spaces, you feel clear and confident and have something that's written for you, so you don't even have to think about it. The other thing I love about the bio bundle is that it's sort of your base content. So you can take that content and build on it for social media intro posts. You can build on it for different marketing pieces or presentation materials. You can extract some of your value propositions and build on it. You can add to it, you can take from it because it's pretty robust. So you get kind of that base content. And then again, since you love writing, you might find that it's a lot easier to write once you have these pieces in place, or you can sign on for additional packages and we can talk about rewriting every page of your website or different presentation materials and kind of blending your true brand voice and differentiators into it. How does that sound?
Wow, sounds awesome.
Awesome. Okay. So
But
when
let me stop you because my marketing budget is a little tight right now.
okay. What is your marketing budget?
Well, I don't really have one. I kind of
Okay.
play by the seat of my pants, and as things come up, I just decide whether or not I know this is
Yeah.
important, but I have to stop because I'm making that part up because in all the ones I've never had anybody stop me for budget. Like
Yeah.
it's more that they get that they need it, and
Yeah.
when I get to the point of the call where you are, they're already sold. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not like I have this big high volume of
Well,
clients
and I
because
know,
I'm working one-on-one.
yes. And I know that, a lot of times when I do sales demos, people love to throw in an objection that they think is going to be a curveball. Like, I have no budget. I have to talk to my partner. I don't have enough time to implement this. I have no time in my schedule to do 45-minute sessions. Like, there's a million objections. I can overcome all of those. So it's somewhat helpful to hear those objections and kind of work through them. I think what is important, though, in that objection that you just used specifically is thinking about, and that person says, I have a tight budget. And then you say, what is the budget? Now it puts them on, like, it put you on the spot and you were like, I actually don't have a budget, but like, I can't always afford things. And that's when it starts to get into the conversation of, how important is it to you to get this speaker and bio bundle all done right now? Because we could move forward with the $997 package that's just your about page if you're concerned about pricing, and then also kind of get that momentum and traction moving, and then you can pay the remaining $797 or whatever. I'm not going to do math right now, but whatever that remainder is to get the rest of it once you really see the quality of the work and how that impacts the way you show up in your business, right? That's one example. You might think about that, get a lot of objections about the price point, even with the about page, and offer payment plans or work with people or talk to them about, you can say no to this right now and come back to me in 2 months from now, right? Like, there's so many ways you can handle those. It's not always about remember, you're being helpful and matching them with their perfect solution. Sometimes people can't afford it, and that's okay. And also that will kind of initiate the question of, if you're getting a lot of people who can't afford it, not saying that you are, but for anyone else on here, if you're getting a lot of people who can't afford it, start thinking, is this truly my ideal audience? Number one. And number two, can I talk about the pricing more and upfront so that when people get on that call, they're clear about what it costs, right? Like, I put $149 a month on my website for my group program, so that everybody knows what it costs. There's no question about,
Yeah, I have my prices on my website. I believe in that.
And that's why you
time.
probably don't get a lot of objections to prices, because when they book that call with you, they know it's $1797, which is another reason why you don't need to oversell or give them too much of like the showing examples, right? Because they're already there. They're booked the call. They know what it costs. They know what it includes. Now you just have to do that. I call my discovery calls a vibe check. We're just checking to make sure that we vibe. Like, our energies align, like you feel confident that I'm the person to help you. Those calls are not to prove to you that I'm worth what I charge or that my value is there or whatever. That's what I feel the marketing is doing, is pre-selling and your website being clear about the offer. When you get on the call, it's really, I saw your website. I read your copy. It was really powerful. But when we have a dialogue, do I feel the same way that I feel when I read your website? And so that's kind of how I look, just as a different perspective of what those calls are for. So I hope that's helpful.
Absolutely.
That role play was awesome. I was like, wow, I'm so glad I wasn't in the hot seat.
I love that you do things from Iowa, but you source bees from Vermont. It was all over the place. I was like, wow, you're really getting into it. You can tell you're a writer. Okay, we're going for it.
Always, always.
So I know that we're at time and I want to respect everyone's time, but I do have a couple extra minutes if there's questions or if anyone wants to, I want to respect Mallika as well, because I know this is her
Yeah, no,
space
that was
and time.
great. I'm sure, Melanie, you got a lot of good, valuable input there to strengthen your sales pitch. But anyone else, Christine, Lisa, or Deborah, do you have any, questions? I know like sometimes what you just talked about, the price objection, I think could be a presentation in itself. It could be a conversation in itself, right?
Oh yeah, I do those a lot.
Sometimes like I have a higher price point, like I have a mastermind that's 4,500. Christine, you sell wedding dresses that are thousands of dollars. It's when is the right time to have that? Do you tell them in the upfront, or do you try to paint the story and dig into their pain points and then at the end tell it? Like sometimes I feel like when you're at a certain price point that's a higher one, it gets trickier when to talk about it and how to flip the objection.
Yeah, I feel that most of the higher, especially I'll use Christine as an example, because I have a client who is a fashion designer who specializes in wedding gowns that are custom. And what we talk about is more that you're not selling on a pain point, because wedding dresses are not a pain point. They're a point of excitement. And so talking about it's not the goal of a sales call, and I probably should have mentioned this earlier, I often do on these types of calls, but you want them to not even ask you for the price. I have so many people on discovery calls that we get to the end and they go, where do I sign? And then I go, do you want to know what it costs before you sign on the dotted line? And they go, oh yeah, I don't know what it costs, right? That's kind of where you want to get to, especially with a desire driven buy, is don't you want the wedding dress to just fit you perfectly and be built around your body instead of you trying to fit it? Something that's going to last you generations, that you can pass down, that you can cherish, that you can box up. Like you're giving them, again, these visualizing statements where they're like, I want that. Like, how do I get exactly what you're talking about? When you talk about the process part of it, we're going to sit down, I'm going to sketch you in your body and the style that you talk about, and everything just totally embodies your energy, how you feel on that day. It just captures your essence of who you are. So when you walk down that aisle, your partner is looking at you like they've never looked at you before. Like I don't sell wedding dresses, right? But I'm getting goosebumps as I'm talking about it, because when you get to the end of that call, that person's like, yes, 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 to everything you say. And then you're like, so it's $5,000 to get this. And they're like, uh-huh. Okay, I'll figure it out. Like I'll take out a credit card, I'll do whatever. And that's another thing. So I have a policy with coaching. I don't believe people should have to go into debt to pay for coaching, which is why my program is priced the way that it is, because that's one of my core centric beliefs. And so when someone is willing to take out a credit card, you might have mind drama about that. You might be thinking, and I'm not saying that you are, Christine, but for everyone listening to this, like you might be thinking, I want them to have the perfect dress, but I don't want them to go into debt for it. But who are you to decide what is important to that person and what's going to make their entire wedding worth it? They're already probably putting thousands of dollars on a credit card for their wedding. So like these details are things when you leave that call, again, that helpfulness in both of you feeling good walking away. If they feel good about how they're paying for it and you feel good about what you're giving them, you're both winners. I don't ask people how they're going to afford even $149. I've had people say, you know what, it's high. And some people will come back. A woman just joined my program who saved my information from January of this year and said, I have been saving because I have a nonprofit. I've been saving and asking donors to slowly build to get to the point where I could afford this because I know it's going to make such a huge difference. And that's what you want to get to, is not always the immediate sale. And it's not always the way that you would want to pay for something or not want to pay for something, but to really both leave feeling like I get to make a beautiful dress for someone who's incredible and they get to enjoy the experience of their wedding and how they look and feel on the day. And that's it.
That was awesome. Thank you for addressing that. So ladies, thank you so much for spending 7 extra minutes with us. And Justine, this was awesome. Awesome, awesome. I know the recording is going to be very helpful for those who couldn't attend. I'm going to post it on YouTube and share the link. And please share your information. If you haven't, put it in
yes. So
follow her on Instagram.
My link is right at the bottom. It's just my name, JustineBeauregard.com. And then /links has links to my free business building academy. I do monthly trainings in there for free live in a Facebook group. We have one starting on Monday. That's all about borrowing audiences to scale. I also have my podcast linked in there called People Over Profit, and different ways to connect with me and learn more about what I am offering and selling. So JustineBeauregard.com.
Perfect. And Christine and Melanie, I'm not sure if you remember, but when I was closing the Brand Attraction Society, I did share another membership that I had recommended, and it was Justine's. Was the one that I was saying that if you wanted to continue it type of a format, she was a person that I would highly recommend. So if you're still thinking about that, she's a person to join, because she obviously, you can see how much value and care she gives to her content and to the people that she serves. So thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you, Justine.
And
My pleasure.
thank you, Justine, so much.
Thank you, Mallika. Thank you, everybody. Good to meet you.
Wow.